Welcome to The Real Grind, hosted by Karen Gowans and produced by Armand Delanchian. This episode is brought to you by 4D Legacy Studios.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Real Grind. I'm your host, Karen Gowans, and this episode is brought to you by our good friends at luxleatherusa.com. If you're after genuine, handcrafted style, the really cool leather goods that speak to quality and passion, trust me, you're in the right place. Head to luxleatherusa.com, where the craftsmanship is unmatched and shipping is free anywhere in the world. So today, I'd like to have a frank talk about a subject close to every filmmaker's heart: how to actually get your feature film financed and fully supported, particularly in today's oversaturated market. So many filmmakers have great ideas and they're looking for financing, but financing is a tough subject to deal with. It can be really tough. It's very intimidating because you'll find that if you make a list of some of the top financing companies, or you Google them, maybe you go on YouTube, you use LinkedIn or social media, you'll find that when you look up a lot of these companies, when you go to their website, many of them don't even have their phone number on their website. They're very private. And many times you'll see like a submission form, like on the website, like you enter your name, your email address, your phone number, and there will be an inquiry field. So, you state, you type in like what your question is or whatever. But with many of these sites, you'll see it right in front of you. It can almost feel like a slap across the face, but you'll see it written boldly that they don't accept unsolicited submissions. And with the rare companies that do have their phone numbers listed in Google or on their website, you'll find that sometimes nobody even answers the phone. I think maybe some of these companies do it on purpose. You'll find that you'll just leave a general voicemail message. And it can be very tough. It can feel like, you're talking and, maybe leaving a message and you're wondering if anybody at all is listening. And you'll really sense that you sometimes have to know somebody in the company. And, maybe going to an industry event, you might come across a key decision maker or whatever, but cold calling for financing can be tough. Cold emailing is challenging as well because this marketplace is so saturated. So it can be really tough to get a feature film financed and to get the support that you need. And the traditional path to funding is tough. It's not enough to have like talent or a compelling idea. There's timing, relationships, and yes, luck. So because in this industry, there's so much competition, you can have a script that is original, it can be emotionally rich and resonate with potential audiences, but it can still fail to attract financing. And the reason why? Production companies are inundated with submissions. So their inboxes are jam-packed with submissions. They get pitched daily. And they don't want to back something unless they're confident in its commercial or critical potential. So it can be a big risk for them, right? Because one flop can hurt a mid-sized studio's bottom line. That caution makes the barrier to entry super high, perhaps higher than you may think. And with many of these companies, they have tons of gatekeepers. So there's receptionists that will sometimes answer the phone, but they'll scrutinize you. They'll ask a lot of questions. Maybe they won't put you through to the decision maker that you want to deal with. You'll be dealing with executive assistants, lots of administrative people. Actually, if you get a gatekeeper, like an admin assistant or an EA that will actually have a conversation with you, consider yourself lucky, because many times you'll just be leaving a voicemail message. It can be really tough to get noticed. And yeah, there's so many barriers. And, perhaps the barriers that exist are even higher than what you're imagining. And I don't mean to be a wet blanket, but I think it can be easier to deal with the adversity when you know what to expect. That way you can come up with a plan that can help you to bounce back. It can help you to be resilient if you face challenges while seeking financing. So, because of the barriers, a lot of filmmakers are looking at AI driven tools. So let's be clear, it's not about throwing out the traditional way, because for me, I still like being on set. I like working with cast and crew. I like the physical world. But I mean, if the traditional door stays closed, more creators are exploring AI to self produce their vision in a way that's affordable and that gives them independence. It's nice to be able to produce your work in an autonomous way. It can be great to have that freedom and independence. And these modern tools like AI are getting more accessible, right? There's less barriers of entry, when it comes to using AI. So for many filmmakers, these modern tools are becoming a serious option. Now, the traditional path definitely has its challenges, as I mentioned before, but it still offers the widest gateway to global support, distribution, and game changing opportunities. So, what I'm going to do during this podcast is I'm going to describe some production companies and financiers that are on the rise that can be pursued if you are still open to the traditional way of doing things, because the traditional way offers global support, distribution, and game changing, game changing opportunities. But there's just a lot of competition and barriers. There's less opportunity for being autonomous. But again, there are some advantages to the traditional way of doing things. All right, so here are some key production companies and financiers who are actively looking for projects. You can read about some of these companies on LinkedIn. You can Google them. Some of them are on YouTube. You'll see various social media profiles. They're big names. So when you Google them, you'll probably come across their website and lots of relevant information. So the first company on the list is A24. And what they love is new voices. They like bold, auteur-driven stories that are often helmed by first-time writer-directors. So think of the offbeat stuff, the emotionally resonant films that don't follow a formula. And they've launched careers like Greta Gerwig, Ari Aster, the Daniels, and Robert Eggers. Next on the list is Peachtree Group, also known as Peachtree Media Partners. So what they finance are feature films in the $5 million to $50 million range, and they focus on those backed by experienced producers. So they like the A-list cast members, the Academy or Emmy nominated talent. They like solid pre-sales or tax incentives. So they're serious financiers. They want to deal with people that already have a track record of success. And they were recently showcasing The Surfer and We Bury the Dead at South by Southwest 2025. So their website is easy to remember, peachtreegroup.com. And this is a structured, risk-managed lending company that supports ambitious mid-budget films. So with a lot of these companies on the list that I'm going to share with you, when you Google them, you'll come across their website addresses. But for some of them, I will provide the website addresses to you. So maybe it might be helpful to have a piece of paper and a pen handy so you can take notes. So next on the list is Concordia Studio. And with Concordia, the focus is high impact, forward thinking stories. So both scripted and documentary stuff. They develop, produce, finance, and deliver with notable projects on streaming platforms. So they are, a great company. They also run the Concordia Fellowship, supporting diverse filmmakers advancing ambitious documentary and episodic work. And their website is Concordia.studio. Now, the next organization on my mind is Europe based. So it's Lumina Carousel Magna Studios. There's three business units, or three affiliated companies. And what you need to know is that this is a venture-backed studio with a disruptive vision, and it empowers artists to own their IP. So they can bypass traditional models. They're active in scripted drama, documentary, and children's content. And they often work in partnership with the BBC and Netflix. So they're a very interesting Europe-based organization. Next on my list is a company that, it's owned by the tech giant Google. So it's an initiative, right? So it's called Google's 100 Zeros Initiative. And what it does is it provides a very unique entertainment financing path, right, from Google, from the tech giant. And they fund innovative shorts and narratives that explore AI themes. These projects are sold to studios and streamers, not released on YouTube, and they offer a route for bold AI-centered ideas. So Google's 100 Zeros Initiative, you might want to jot that down. Next on my list is the UK-based Quiddity Films. So their niche is international collaborations across Europe, Africa, and Latin America. And they're behind critically acclaimed films such as I Am Not a Witch and The Settlers. And they work closely with cultural funds like UK's BFI and BBC to support powerful, region-centered storytelling. Now, you've probably heard of Fahrenheit 11/9, The Dissident, and Magazine Dreams. So those films are connected with Briarcliff Entertainment. And with Briarcliff, their focus is distribution-focused production, right? So especially for documentaries and action films that have that real global theatrical appeal. So yeah, they've got some noteworthy titles like Magazine Dreams and The Dissident, Fahrenheit 11/9. That's Briarcliff Entertainment stuff. There's also a really neat nonprofit organization. They're a nonprofit and distribution company, and they're dedicated to promoting women and non-binary filmmakers. And the organization is called The Future of Film is Female. And they offer grants and distribution pathways. And in 2025, they partnered with Neon to fund short films by diverse creators set in Los Angeles. So very interesting nonprofit and distribution company. So next on my list is a very interesting program. It's the Film Independence Fast Track program. So the website address is ramolawpc.com. I'm going to spell that. So RAMOLAWPC.com. So ramolawpc.com. And how it helps is it's not really a studio, but it's a vital industry gateway. So Fast Track supports director-producer teams on features and documentaries, and it links them to major partners like Searchlight, Plan B, Netflix, and Mandalay Pictures. The last organization on my list is the Cannes Investor Circle. So what you need to know is that Cannes isn't just for premieres, it has its investor circle, which connects the artistically ambitious projects with private investors interested in development, financing, and co-production. It's where creative meets capital. So look at what's here. Financiers accepting mid-tier budgets, studios open to first-time voices, nonprofits supporting underrepresented creators, and tech or market-focused initiatives. These players want something compelling. They want something dynamite and original, but they're all making very calculated, conservative choices. They're being very discerning. None of them just want to take a wild, bold leap. They're being careful. They want evidence. They want a strong script, a talented team. They need a hook, perhaps pre-sales or a buzz from a festival or lab. So let's not mince words. Most companies receive thousands of pitches a year. Getting financed is like threading a needle. Talent matters, but vision, timing, positioning, and yes, luck all play crucial parts. Now, in episode 5 of The Real Grind, pardon me, not episode 5, pardon me, it was episode 4. In episode 4, I talked about financing, and I likened getting financing trying out for the Shark Tank, that TV show with the entrepreneurs, or like Dragon's Den in Canada. You have to be prepared. You have to know your numbers. The financiers, they want to work with people who are already successful. So you may want to consider tuning in to episode 4 if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, because I really get into what you can do to prepare, when you're dealing with the financiers. So there are ways that you can stack the deck in your favor. There's things you can do, and it's tricky to get financing. It's like threading a needle, right? So talent matters, but vision, timing, positioning, and luck, all those things play a role. So there are things you can do to strengthen your odds of getting financing. And first and foremost, tell something authentic and original. Be the only person who can tell that story. That's very key. You want originality. Don't chase the trends. Make your vision visible. That's very key. And also, it pays to build momentum. So that could be a recognized short, online buzz, a script award, or your participation in a lab or fellowship. It's also good to submit strategically. So programs like Fast Track, Concordia's Fellowship, Sundance Catalyst, these are where industry circles are watching. That's where they're hovering. So it's good if you can plant yourself in those kinds of places. And also, when you're at festivals, make the most of them. Make festival appearances count. Even if you're not selected, network at mixers, attend panels, pitch during Q&As. Visibility matters. And also consider those alternative paths, right? So things like AI, crowdfunding, grants, nonprofits, these aren't lesser options. They're new tools in the toolbox. And it's also key to remember that visual proof of concept matters. If the traditional route stalls, a self-produced version using alternative tech can show your story's potential and your resourcefulness. Like, you could even go on YouTube, make a web series, have like an actual visual proof of concept, get the ball rolling, show them something, even if it's self-produced. And let me say this again. This business is rough. You're going to encounter people hanging up on you, people that will ignore you. They won't return your calls. At times, you'll feel invisible. There are gatekeepers that will scrutinize you. You'll go to websites and you're going to see it written boldly that they don't take unsolicited submissions. And talent alone often isn't enough, but remember, if you combine originality, persistence, smart strategy, and a willingness to try new tools, whether it's a fellowship, an AI test version, or smart festival positioning, you can create your own momentum, even though there's gatekeepers and a lot of barriers, and the business is definitely tough. You can overcome that adversity. You just need to be original. You need to be unique. You need to be persistent, resilient, and have a really smart strategy, and use some of the new tools that are out there. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And remember, telling your story on your terms can be an act of resistance against an industry filled with noise and gatekeepers. This episode was brought to you by luxleatherusa.com, your source for genuine handcrafted leather goods made with love. Find the real thing at luxleatherusa.com. Until next time, keep creating, keep grinding, and above all, stay inspired. I'm Karen Gowans, and this episode was produced by Armin Delanchian. Bye for now, until next time.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Real Grind. Tune in next week for more filmmaking insights. This episode was brought to you by 4D Legacy Studios, where stories matter.